We just need people to connect with us so that we can do something to help and get people together. That's what we need to do.
Well, there's something cooking behind the scenes, and I'm going to kind of hint at it. One of them is at ArgusoogRadio. There's behind the scenes right now is and I can hear or feel Hans going, "Oh, how far is it going to go?" There are some good things cooking, folks. That Argusoog is going to be trying to support you in a real way from the standpoint of information. Now, not necessarily all of it will be English, because this is, by the way, an international effort that's being pushed. I mean, for example, Tobias, hey, he's in Canada.
Right.
Okay. But I think my other little hint that I'm real anxious to just simmer the steak for a while before we really tell him is I got to share with Tobias a little bit of information about what might be in the works for community. And how did that help you feel about community? I mean, it was kind of encouraging, wasn't it?
Oh, for sure. It's just we've got to realize that while so many people don't know how to take the first step, just take that first step, do something, because there are a lot of people out there with real ideas and plans that are not just planning on moving forward, but they are moving forward. And this is a necessity.
There is something big in the works. And I don't mean something that's going to be like marketed that, you can run down to the store and get the latest trend in community. It's not that. We're talking about making something potentially happen you can participate in, and it isn't, and the resources for that are just absolutely mind-boggling, and that's about all I can say about it at this point. But it's been in the works. I did not know anything about it, found out about it, and as soon as its plans are finalized, it's been in the works for 2 years. When it's done, well, guys, we're going to be letting you know all about it. So, hey, it's on the brink, and community is about participating, taking responsibility for yourself. But because it is community, that burden of responsibility is lighter. If you were to take this responsibility, as you should anyway, you will know the enormous weight of it on your shoulders. But in the community, that burden would be lighter. It's not something that you take just because you are in community. Right now, if you are a person that isn't going, oh gosh, we've had an earthquake, where's the government going to help us? I mean, haven't we learned the lesson from Katrina?
Oh, yes. Preparedness. If we don't prepare now, I don't even want to think about it. If we don't prepare now, everything from putting an extra box of macaroni in your closet if you go shopping, just prepare now. If and when everything hits the fan and you haven't done any preparation, I can't even imagine what you're going to feel like. Don't want to even think about that. We want to think positively. We want to stay focused and just do the right thing. There's I can only imagine that there could be very few things worse than being unprepared when the world around you seems to be falling apart. So, yeah.
Well, and what we're facing, if whatever is going to happen, we can either face it alone, or share that common burden with somebody else. I mean, isn't it? How many of us are talking maybe to another family member or a spouse or to our kids or our parents or to good friends and so forth, and they just don't get it.
Exactly.
That's a whole burden on us. I know that doesn't seem to be, now it's not like going out and hoeing a garden. It's not the kind of burden I'm talking about. But the weight of people understanding where we're at is a burden. And it'd be so nice to get with people that understand that hey, by the way, there is a financial collapse. There is problems on the way, like this. The dollar is going to have a problem. Predictions by Salente are not just coming out of the air. He's not Chicken Little screaming bloody murder, the sky is falling for nothing, unless the sky is really, after, several decades of predicting when it is going to fall, the fella has a reputation. And
right.
So it would be nice to be able to understand other people know that. And so that causes something. That causes people to coordinate in the same direction. Now, that manifests, and Tobias, I shared with Tobias when I worked the world's largest tornado disaster, and having gotten on the scene as one of the very first people, as far as not having been in it, but came from outside, on the scene to help. People then realize there is a problem. Everybody's united because there's a common understanding. Hey, this is a problem. A tornado has hit. It's disaster. Hello, now everybody's on the same page.
And that's a really good example for preparedness or lack thereof, because you can only prepare so much for a disaster as extreme as a tornado, such as that you had experience with. So you're going to find, there's the example of people absolutely in shock, don't know what hit them, don't know where to go, what to do. There's injuries, there's all sorts of scary things happening, and it just takes one person to put their foot forward and start guiding people in the right direction, and real life miracles can happen, and you can get it together. So very good example.
Yeah, and it doesn't take a disaster.
Right.
The open source community, one of the open source projects in the internet or in the computer world is Ubuntu, and Ubuntu it was based on teamwork in the early days, and of course maybe in the early stages, plowing that first time down that field is rough, and so maybe hackers were only once, but then they began to share the load and define things easier for people, and lo and behold, we have one of the outcroppings of it is Ubuntu. And one of the things that has happened for it is that I'd like to talk about a little bit is the computer. If you have a computer, don't be thinking you can't afford to have a system, and a good one. One of them is a Linux system that operates very much like a Windows machine. It has an interface, but it looks more Macintosh. And so one of the things that I wanted to cover was the fact that we have a open source community that has local communities. So let me just read this. I paused a minute to get the paperwork. It says, of all the communities in the Ubuntu world, one of the fastest growing communities and one of the most exciting communities is the local community teams. These are local Ubuntu user groups that get together to spread the word about Ubuntu in their local area, and they provide support for members. They organize events. They put together days where they have open and free install fests and more, and help people get a free computer system. They just give it to them. We have more than 200 locos, they call it, local community teams, and they never cease to surprise me in just what they manage to achieve. One such story that we showcased recently on Ubuntu